An hour later, here we go.
Right. Yeah, let's start at 10:30, and this is why you start earlier, because this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, because life is awesome. Okay, here we go. Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to episode 1 of A Feast of Films. I'm Matt Black, and I'm joined with...
Ethan Hill.
That's your line. Okay, full transparency, guys. We've been trying for an hour to record our first episode. We've been having the most ridiculous technical problems ever. Literally just being able to call each other.
There's a long dramatic pause after you said your name, and I was like, do I talk here? What's going on?
And we've tried this how many times, and it always works the same way. I'm like, I'm Matt Black, I'm with, and then this is like, Ethan!
Hey, it's me!
It just cracks me up. Maybe that's just our intro now. Who knows?
The struggles of trying to do something long distance. This would be, you know how this would work? If we were in the same city, if we were in the same room, no problem at all. But of course,
Yeah.
I'm out here and you refuse to move, so I mean, clearly that's what the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like packing up my kids and wife and moving for this podcast, but then I thought,
I mean, like, dude, it's follow your
I think I'm
dreams.
good.
Follow your dreams, man.
Follow the dreams. Follow the dreams. Speaking of dreams, we're gonna be talking about some great movies today, which is a lot of people's dreams. I mean, we all want to make movies. We all want to be in film. We all want to be involved in the world. We just love it so much. I know, at least speaking for the two of us, Ethan's actually made a film before, short film.
No, I made a feature film and a short film.
Yeah, exactly. So he's actually done stuff. I made a movie in high school, which I'm pretty sure doesn't even count.
I was in that movie.
But
I was in that movie, so it counts
were,
now. I can make that an official IMDb credit.
Crazy, man.
Maybe
cool.
I could.
like that.
I could see if I could put that on and.
I like that. But here we're here to talk about films. We're talk about all different aspects, characters, stories, cinematography, talking about scores and just, everything, the things we love, the things we didn't, and our opinions. And the best part is usually we have different opinions, so that's always going to be a lot of fun.
I'm curious how much we're going to differ on. Like, that's actually one thing I was thinking about going into this, cuz like for some topics, which we'll probably end up getting to maybe in this episode, maybe in future episodes, we have some differing opinions. But I'm curious. I feel like there's a part of me that's really worried that this entire episode is going to be like, this is my favorite film. This is my favorite film. I agree. Crap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was some great conversation.
Well, 15 minutes later, what are you doing the rest of the day, Matt?
Exactly. But I mean, at least I think from just what we talked before, we do definitely have different opinions. I think we do have different like points of views or what we look for what's good and what, makes a great film or something that we enjoy. So I think it'll be just I think it's a great setup for conversation. And that's kind of what it's all about, talking about the things we love and, just having a great time. Yeah. So this should be good. We're setting the bar low here with episode 1. We've had a ton of technical difficulties already.
We're planning to have
I think we're ready to roll.
We're planning to have some mediocre content for everybody. So buckle up and be ready for just good.
Let's do this. Feast of Films, episode 1. Dinner is served.
There you go. That's the tagline. Yeah.
Dinner is served. There's always gonna be plenty of film.
So
I guess I'll just
surprise question.
Yeah,
of the day.
we'll do the surprise question of the day. So I'm just gonna let everyone know we do have different like segments that we're gonna be talking about in the podcast, and every episode they'll be kind of switching, moving around, slightly different. So it is always gonna be something different, but we're always gonna be having that great film talk. But first off, we're starting with surprise question of the day, where one of us has a surprise question for the other, and we just kind of spring it on them. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Everything and nothing. And, maybe it's great, maybe it's terrible. Who knows? And I think that's on us.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to it, man. I think you're the questionnaire for the day.
So I guess it's a good question to kick off everything. Why film? What about film makes you want to talk about it, makes you love it? Why? Why are we here?
Why are we here? like in life, like why do we exist in humanity and the world in existence?
Why are we here to talk about film, Matt? What do you love about film that has made you want to talk about it?
That is a great question. That's a great way to start off at least episode 1, because I think it just kind of sets the standard and like where we're sitting on all these things. So that's a great question. Nice job. Nice surprise question.
I've been sitting on it for about a week and a half.
Yeah, you're just like, I got the best question for the start. I thought it was going to be something kind of ridiculous, but I actually like that question. It's a very good question. It's a very good question. It's a beautiful question. The question is beautiful.
I promise you, my questions will get more and more ridiculous as time progresses.
Absolutely, I love it. No, I mean when we're talking about film, I think the thing that really moves me and what I love most about film and is the storytelling. Is it's such a unique way to communicate an effective story. Now, there's so many different ways, obviously, like novels, books, comic books, even podcasts too, right? There's a lot of story-based podcasts. But there's something so unique about films. So unique, whether you're talking about the visual storytelling, like there's so many different ways, right? Whether it's in the writing, whether it's in the cinematography, whether it's in the score, in the music. The music in itself many times tells the story or communicates the beats in ways that the spoken word can't, right? Yeah. And it's just that overall experience that I just love. And since I was a kid, I mean, I've connected with these stories. You feel for these characters. You can walk in their shoes. You can relate to them.
Of course.
And so many of these stories are just timeless stories. And that's kind of what I love about it. That's what makes me want to talk about every day. And it's a great way to just kind of distract yourself too from whatever's going on in the world. Like, I'm just going to go jump into the world of Star Wars, or I'm going to go jump into the world where there's mobsters and gunfights and all these crazy things,
escapism
right?
is huge, man. Like, it's a huge part of it. It's getting away.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just being part of this whole world. So, I mean, we could talk probably for hours about what's great about film, but for me, the thing I love most is the stories and all the different aspects, I think, of storytelling. Whether, again, it's the visual, whether it's the shots, whether it's the writing, whether it's the audio, them all coming together to create just such a unique experience that you can completely become involved in and engulfed in. That to me is what's special about storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
And films. I guess that was the question. Film.
Hey, it works. I accept that answer.
What about you, bud? Surprise question of the day.
Am I surprised by it though? No, for me it's a similar answer. It's very similar to what you said, where it's thing I love about film is that basically no matter what type of art you're into, no matter what kind of art you do, you can end up working on film. You can end up being a part of film, because whether you're an actor, whether you are a carpenter, whether you like to be behind a camera, whether you like to write, whether you play music, anything, like it's the culmination of all art forms brought together into this one massive thing to tell a story together. It's a shared goal through all these different mediums tied together. And like as I said, it's a very similar answer to yours. And I just look at that and it's a beautiful thing to me. And it's something that since I was 5, first time I think my time I clicked, first time I watched Star Wars, I was 5 and it was just on and I don't know what it was, but I'm like, that's it. That's what I love. That's what I want to do. And like it's just always been something that I've loved, and it's just, I don't know, it's a super special thing that I think is taken for granted sometimes. And that's why I think things like this, where you can show a bit of appreciation for it and discuss it, is really important. And it's
absolutely,
it's just something that brings everyone together, because who doesn't love a good movie?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it too, right? Like, especially when you're talking about like the movie theater, like the shared experience, right? Like, nothing is better going to a movie theater, sitting with like tons of other people, hundreds of other people, 50 other people, 20 other people, depending how big your theater is, right? And being able to share that experience together with other people. Like, that is part of the movie magic in itself as well, right? That theater experience. Like, you think about Avengers, especially like Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Like how many moments, especially if you go on like opening night with all like the hardcore fans. Oh man, there's so many moments. Like it gives me, you can't see it right now because it's like, you know, a podcast, but I have goosebumps on my arms just thinking about sitting in that theater. And when like Cap has like Mjolnir and he's got it, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah!"
Spoilers,
like,
Matt.
cheering,
Spoilers.
like,
Come on. It's only
oh,
been out
that
for a
movie
year.
Came out a year.
It's been a
That movie
year
came
since
out a year ago.
a year since Endgame. That's crazy, right?
That is crazy. But just think about, right? Like that shared experience that you have together. People are cheering, everyone, you laugh together, you cry together. Ah, man, movies just they can bring out the best in everyone, especially during that experience. Now afterwards when people are talking about them, sometimes they get toxic, especially nowadays, but
A little heated.
no, we just try and keep it. Yeah, we try and keep it level. But yeah, just that shared experience is wonderful.
Are you a popcorn person in theaters? Like, you gotta
I
have
love
popcorn?
I love popcorn in the theaters. I don't really eat it too much at home. Also, I only eat so much popcorn in theaters. Like I'll eat it till a kernel gets stuck in my gums.
And then you're
drives
done.
me nuts, and I'm like, I'm done. Then I get mad. But I do
You know,
like
there's a-
peanut M&Ms.
There's a whole movement of people actually out there who want to get rid of snacks in films, like in theaters. Like they wanna
No, really?
There's people who are there. They're a bit more on cinema's a higher end kind of thing. Like it's film is an
Right,
experience,
right.
but it's a higher cinematic experience. And they're like, we got to get rid of
Yeah.
all those snacks. And I'm like, but I love having my bag of popcorn that I only eat the top part of and take the rest home.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
I need a drink for my 3 hours because I'm gonna get thirsty in 3 hours, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, for sure. I think snacks are just it's a great way. Like let's be honest, like popcorn's pretty much like a butter delivery device. Like it's really great for getting, especially when you get like that top part where it's all buttery, right?
Yeah.
You got to get it layered. You got to get layered. But yeah, no, snacks are a great way. It's again part of that experience. And I think what you touched on too that was really great in your answer when it comes to, you know, why do you love film? Like you talked about all the different stuff that even happens behind the scenes, which we don't always think about, but the crafting of the sets, right? The costume work. There's so many different things that happen, makeup and styling, right? There's so many things
If
that
there's
happen
any
behind
department
the
we're
scenes.
missing, we're sorry.
Yeah, special effects, right? And
Well,
we see
like
special effects now, but
Stunt people.
stunt people, absolutely. There's so
Hey,
many
they're
different.
one of the most underappreciated group of people, man.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many different like artistic, creative, you know, professions that go into making a movie. It really is a team effort, and when they all work together, they create just the best experiences.
I actually make it a point anytime I meet somebody who even doesn't have an interest in film, I kind of find out what they want to do and then tell them how they could actually work in the film industry and what jobs they could do.
Right.
So like they're just like, oh well, you could be an assistant director because you have these kind of skills here. Oh well, you're nurse. Well, they need first aid people on set, so you could be a first aider on there. You could work craft services. You like to cook, you can do craft services. Like there's just been a list of people who have like, I could never be on a film set, and I'm like, you're wrong. Here you go.
You're wrong. Yeah, there's so many ways. Like it literally takes a city to make these movies.
Oh,
It
exactly.
literally takes a city. Yeah, it's incredible. It's
it's-
incredible. No,
it's
that was a
just-
great surprise question.
It was a nice way to start off the conversation. Hopefully,
Yeah, and it's always a great way. I think every episode will be good. It'll get the brain rolling and into the zone. So the
set the
surprise
bar.
question is always a good way to do.
set the bar high for you for
and
next
of course we
next
set
time.
the bar. Yeah, I'll bring it back down lower so that we can have lower expectations.
So Ethan,
Yeah, no, that was a-
how was your poop today? That is. Well, Matt, I haven't
Probably
had
not
one
that
yet,
low.
but
That's a bit low. Those lifetime experiences that you hold on to, right? Especially since you were a kid, just watching your first movie, clicking in, getting into the adventure. Oh, man, there's nothing.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing like the movie experience.
I'm already thinking of other questions I want to ask you. But it's like, should I sit on these or should I just ask them? Like,
Yeah, well, if they're really good, sit on them. We'll use them for our surprise questions of the day. Write them down. Write them down. All right. Anything else to mention on that?
no, I think we both kind of scratched the surface of why we're here, why we're talking about this stuff, and I think
Because we love it. To put it simply, because we love it.
it's just amazing. It's I sometimes have trouble
Beyond
with my words,
words.
apparently.
It's hard to
lose my
articulate
words,
sometimes.
and I get emotional, and I just want to cry so much because it's just so beautiful, and I just.
Now that is great audio. We're definitely keeping that.
Oh yeah, of course.
All right, let's move on to our next segment for today's episode. A little segment I like to call 20 Years, 20 Movies. Now, the title is completely false because really it's 20 Years, 80 Movies because it is our best and worst movie of the year. And we're going to start with the year 2019 because 2020 honestly hasn't had that many movies and most of them from reviews haven't been that good. So we're going to start with 2019.
I don't know if I've even been to a theater yet this year. Like,
I don't think
about it.
I went to I did go see Bad Boys for Life this year. That's all I've seen though. That's all I've got to see in the theaters since before lockdown.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I can't actually think of any, but it could be I'm just forgetting it, which that doesn't bode well for movies so far this year if I'm forgetting what I've gone to.
Yeah. And to be fair, we didn't get into the summer rush, right? Like all the best movies really are coming up in the time we're at right now, that April, May, June, July kind of period. Hopefully we'll get some really good movies in theaters still this year before the year ends, see how this whole thing goes. Or else, the 2020 Oscars are just going to be like, cool, man. Like,
well,
there is some movies. Yeah, exactly. So today we're going to talk about our best movie and worst movie from the year of 2019. And we'll start with you, Ethan.
These are just our opinions. These are our personal preferences. There's no...
These are just opinions.
Critical expertise behind any of this. It's just what we like, and...
It's just what you like, and if you want to explain kind of what you like about it, the things you love or the things you don't like about it can be as long or short as you want. And then, of course, I'll jump in and give opinions on yours, and you can jump in and give your thoughts on mine. And
if we have seen them at all. So,
if we've seen them. I guess we haven't seen them. But yeah.
We'll start with the best, I guess.
Sorry.
What was that?
Sorry, my phone was on.
Just I heard. I think Star Wars was that.
Yeah, it was Star Wars. It was Star Wars. Yeah.
One music cue, and I just knew.
I was listening to. I was just listening to one of the soundtracks there, and then an email popped up, and then turned off my music. I was like, okay, I don't know how that works, but I turned it down.
Okay, I want to. Can I make a guess at the soundtrack? I want to just quickly make a guess at the soundtrack, and I think I'm gonna be wrong because it sounded like every Star Wars soundtrack.
But it was pretty much the French horns, yeah. Or the trumpets.
Episode 5?
It was French horns. What's that?
Was it episode 5?
It was.
Amazing.
Bum, ba, bum. Yeah. No.
I need to leave my house, apparently.
You spend way too much time in your house.
Hey man, it's got all my stuff, and I like it here.
Classic. Oh man, yeah, no, Star Wars music really is one of it's just the most iconic music out there. Like along with any other John Williams score, right? Like it is. If you had Star Wars without the John Williams score, without the music, it'd be like this is hardly interesting.
The cool thing with him and with Star Wars in general is he actually essentially saved cinematic music because everything in the 70s was a synth score, and then they came out with Star Wars, and it was like, hey, here's this big orchestral thing, and suddenly all these sci-fi movies and stuff like that started having this orchestra sounding thing, and it's just like Star Wars. What Star Wars did for the film industry, this is a whole other conversation, so we shouldn't get into it, otherwise we're going to be here for days.
We'll literally be here for days, yeah.
But Star Wars honestly really shaped cinema for years after the 70s and 80s. It really had such an impact, and it's you can tell. You can look at my favorite comparison. You can see its
influence in everything. Yeah.
My favorite comparison is Episode 4 came out the same year as Logan's Run, and they're both sci-fi movies. But when you put those side by side, one aged really, really well. And spoiler alert, it's not Logan's Run.
You have one guess which one it was. And it wasn't Logan's Run.
It wasn't. That's my hint. It wasn't Logan's Run. You can guess now.
Was it Star Wars by any chance?
Yes, it was. How'd you know?
Yeah, no, that. And if you watch any documentary or read articles on the making of Star Wars, it blows you away how much impact it's really had on the film industry going
Well,
forward.
it's
Especially
one of
you
those
talking about
ones.
special effects, you talking about music, cinematography, just incredible. Or and creating set pieces and the practical effects and stuff that they used, amazing.
So, best movies for 2019, and
Oh yeah, so back to this best movie for
so
2019.
I guess actually
Yeah,
no. This
go
is a
ahead.
good This is a good segue for me because surprisingly, so a Star Wars movie came out this year, and
Right.
surprisingly, it's not my favorite movie of the year. Normally, it is, but it isn't this year, and that's because an amazing movie called Jojo Rabbit came out.
Oh,
And
yes.
did you see it or?
I have not seen it. Okay,
It
so
is.
just a brief. Okay, no, I'll let you talk, and then I'll talk later. Go
So
ahead.
I'm not gonna give away too much about it because like obviously I don't want to ruin it for you. I cannot recommend this movie enough. I've seen it once, and it was a few months ago, and I'm still just absolutely enamored by it. I just love it. I just anytime I think about it, I get a smile on my face. It's heartwarming, heartbreaking, hilarious, but handles topics, especially since it's dealing with World War II and Nazis and Hitler Youth. Like it handles
Right.
those really, really, really well in just a really, honestly, one of the best ways I've seen a World War II movie handled. Like it walks the line so finely, and like before I saw it, I'd always say that there are two people who could make this movie: Taika Waititi or Mel Brooks. And after seeing
Mm-hmm.
it, honestly, no, Taika Waititi is the only person who could have pulled this project off. Like, my top film of the decade was Ready Player One for the last few years. Well, since Ready Player One came out, which I think was actually only 2 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't very long
And
ago. Yeah.
Jojo Rabbit dethroned it. Like, that was my answer. And then I watched Jojo Rabbit, and I'm like, no, actually, I think it's possibly my top film of the decade. Like, that is how strongly I feel about this movie. The soundtrack is just really fun and really good, suits the film really well. The acting is on point. The way they portray it's once again I don't want to give away too much, but like the way they portray um, the Nazis in this, since you're following around Germans, the adults are very goofy and bumbling,
Mm-hmm.
but then the kids, like when as soon as you're dealing with the Hitler Youth, that's where like the horror of what this actually was really comes from, and I really like that, and I appreciate that because it's taking away the power from those people and also expressing how actually terrible this is. So it's making them look like incompetent doofuses, but
Right.
also explaining or showing how this was actually a massive threat. And I love it. Like it's just I said I can't recommend it enough, and I can't really go into it too much
Too
without giving
many
away too much.
like.
Well,
Feel
Taika
free to talk
Waititi
though. Like
as
I will see it. Yeah.
Taika Waititi as Hitler is perfect casting, and like he's hilarious in it, and it man no I'm just smiling thinking about it. Like I just get it's weird to get happy about a movie when it's World War II, but like just the way it was handled.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. Let's. Do you have any questions about it or anything you have that you want to talk to about it, or do you want to move on to your best film?
No, I just want to touch on that a little bit because I think that's a great choice. I've heard nothing but good things about Jojo Rabbit. So just a little disclaimer here. 2019 was a pretty crazy year for my family. Like we were in the hospital for a lot of it, and we had a little baby boy, but he was born 3 months premature. He's doing great now, fantastic, real strong little dude crawling around, causing all sorts of chaos. You may even hear him in the background from time to time on this podcast.
It's that, or
But so
it's me crying over in the
it
corner.
could be you crying too from time to time. You never
Yeah,
know. Ethan, you suck.
the
No,
existential
no.
dread sets in, and I just start sobbing
Every
uncontrollably.
once in a while, eh?
Oh,
So my list of 2019 movies wasn't very long. How many I did see, but Jojo Rabbit is on that list, and mainly because I just love what Taika Waititi brings to the table. He's such a unique storyteller,
oh
and
yeah,
how he communicates and, like you said, walks this line between that like comedy, but like he can also get into some really dark topics but yet it still remains watchable for everyone. You can still consume it. Like, it's not too heavy, right?
Well,
Like,
and
he's just
I
a
have yet to
master at
see
balancing that out.
I've yet to see a film of his that I've disliked. And like, if you actually look at his filmography, there's not a huge list of movies he's made, but every one of them has been that I've seen, because I haven't seen everything that he's done. But
Yeah,
they've all
they
been
walk
really
that
enjoyable,
line between the dark and the comedic. Like, even What We Do in the Shadows. Like, if you
That's
like,
fantastic.
if you, oh yeah, I love that movie. It's that movie cracks me up. I absolutely love it. But even in there, like, you have kind of like some dark horror themes too, or some, like, weird shit. But yet you don't really see it that way. Like, just how he presents it and tells his stories are just, yeah, they're unique, they're fascinating, and it is very much like him. Like, he's a very unique person just in his personality and the angle that he comes from in his life. So just I absolutely love Taika Waititi, and I'm glad he got the opportunity to make Thor Ragnarok, because I think that pushed him really into the mainstream, right?
Oh yeah,
Because before, he was making like the rest of his movies were really indie stuff, but now,
but still
like,
fantastic.
look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. Oh yeah, they were really good movies, but I'm glad he's now in the mainstream, right? And even Thor Ragnarok, when you look at that, that's one of the darkest movies in the MCU when you consider everything that happens. Like, Odin dies, all Thor's friends die, he loses Mjolnir, he loses his hair.
The foundations are strong, and we can rebuild.
Well, that's exactly it. Asgard is destroyed. Like, he loses an eye. Like, so many dark things happen in that movie, but you don't really realize you're watching like a really dark movie. If you took the comedy out, yeah, if you took that comedy out, you'd be like, God, this movie's depressing as hell.
If you took that comedy out, you have every other Thor movie.
Pretty much, right? Except this one would be way more depressing. I like the first Thor movie, though. I think that's an underrated movie.
Oh yeah,
we'll probably get to that later.
Well, it's one of those.
The second one wasn't that great.
Honestly, when it comes to the Marvel movies, even when I think about like the ones that I'm not a huge fan of, like, I still like they're still good movies. They're just not like I always hate that when people say like, oh man, if I say this movie's my least favorite, like, talk about Back to the Future quickly, it's like, oh, it bounces between, but it's like Back to the Future 2 is my least favorite Back to the Future movie. But I still love Back to the Future 2. You can have a least favorite movie and still like it and still enjoy it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you absolutely hate it. You're not saying this is a piece of trash. We live in a world of extremes, though, right? People are like, you either love it or you hate it. It's like, or I'm in the middle most of the time.
Yeah,
it's kind of where I live.
I've seen plenty of movies that have been just okay. Oh, maybe that. Oh, I might have changed my answer for my least favorite movie this year.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll have to wait and see, but I think Jojo Rabbit's a great one. That's one I'm looking forward to. It's next on my list of things I have to catch up to from 2019. Like, most of the movies from 2019 I have to watch, especially all the good ones. Like, I got to see Ford versus Ferrari still.
Yep.
I didn't watch Marriage Story. I got to watch Jojo Rabbit. What was the other one?
Do you see The Lighthouse?
No, The Lighthouse I gotta see. I really want to see that.
That was my second pick. That was
Ad Astra I don't want to see. I heard that was garbage.
I've heard so mixed things on it, but
yeah.
If I can,
so that's not really on my list. Like, if I get to it, I get to it. But if I don't, I did see The Irishman, which is hilarious because that's the longest one.
I haven't seen that one. I did see that
one. I did see it. It was on Netflix, so it was free, so it was easy for me to watch. But
it's on our list.
Anyway,
but we have like, the thing for us here is like we're basically anytime we look at movies to watch, it's like, well, we can watch 1 3-hour movie, or we can watch 2.5-hour movies. What are we in the mood for today?
It all depends.
Exactly.
But no, I think Jojo Rabbit was that's a great pick. That's a great pick.
Man,
I love
like
Taika Waititi, and I can't wait to watch it.
I can't recommend it enough. It's like, as I said, I get giddy when I think about it, and once again I shouldn't because of the topic and subject matter, but I just get happy. But
do you have any honorable mentions?
The Lighthouse
from 2019
is definitely one of them. The Lighthouse was just a fantastic, very low budget film about 2 men who just go crazy, and it's phenomenal. And it's shot like an old, like, if you showed it to someone,
black and white, right?
It's black and white. They actually shot it on I think with the same lenses that they shot old movies back in the 40s on.
Oh, okay.
So like it looks like an old movie from the 40s. It's just handled really well. The acting is phenomenal. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. If anybody ever says Robert Pattinson can't act because of Twilight, no. Watch The Lighthouse and all of it. Like, watch his indie stuff, and no, he's amazing. He's fantastic. The guy knows how to act. Like,
And that's another thing that I've heard too, especially about like Robert Pattinson. Like a lot of people, like, you know, you judge him like, oh, it's that guy from Twilight, and especially because after Twilight, he did kind of fall off the map and go into those indie things. But he's definitely been working his craft, and a lot of the movies I've heard about that he's been in, it's like he's just been a fantastic actor. So I'm actually really excited to see now that he's kind of coming back into more, I guess, mainstream film. Yeah, like he's gonna be the Batman, right? And the Batman coming up.
I'm so curious.
But I'm really excited to see how far he's grown since the last time I've seen him, because I've heard he's just become a phenomenal actor.
Oh yeah, and as like it's a weird movie. It's a really weird movie. Like, don't expect a normal movie when you watch Lighthouse, but
right.
But trust me, it's worth the watch. It's really, really well done, really well made, and it was made for a very low budget, and it doesn't show. Like, it's if 4 million's a low budget, but I mean, for some people.
Well, yeah, especially now in Hollywood, right?
Whenever you
talking about low budget, my best movie of 2019, and this does have the asterisk beside it because again, I haven't seen all the 2019 movies that I want to, so this does have a big asterisk. But this one had a huge budget compared to your, you know, 400 million. This was about 500 million to make by the time, you know, all said and done, advertising and the such. And that is, I'm sure you could guess it, Avengers Endgame. I don't want to be like a basic bitch.
I mean, too late, Matt. Too late.
But this was the best movie I saw all year. And maybe people would say, well, arguably from like a technical standpoint, not the best movie or whatever, didn't win awards, blah, blah, blah. But it is definitely the movie that I connected with or enjoyed the most so far. And again, I haven't seen a lot of 2019 movies, so it's kind of, you know, there's that asterisk beside it.
Maybe it'll get dethroned. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, like as soon as, like, Jojo Rabbit's number one on my, like, what to watch in 2019 list. But Avengers Endgame, you know, I think it did have an unfair advantage. I do have some honorable mentions I'll touch on afterwards as well. But it really has an unfair advantage over the other movies because it really is the culmination of 11 years of storytelling, right? The final battle against Thanos. Is this movie individually by itself better than the other movies I have in my honorable mention? Maybe, maybe not. Depends who you are. But it does have that 11 years of storytelling advantage, right? That really elevates it.
Yeah.
For sure. But for me, like, the movie, it wasn't... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I have opinions on Endgame, but I want to hear yours first, and then.
Oh, okay, cool.
Then I'll make you cry afterwards.
Then you'll make me cry. Absolutely, probably. So yeah, I'll just be like, "It's the baby. It's not me. I'm not crying. You're crying. I'm not crying.
Man, I can see you on the video call. Shut up."
Nice. So for me, there's kind of like four things that really. Made this movie stand out above just the 11 years of storytelling stuff, because that's an easy crutch to just to lean on. But there were four things that really stood out to me. Number one was the score. I thought the score was really well done in Endgame, and it really encapsulated like the epic scope of the big moments, like that final battle, right? Like, especially you got everyone lining up, they're coming out of the portals, and you got that dun 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 dun. Like, then eventually, the Avengers theme.
Avengers
assemble. But he like whispers it so like no one hears him. But yet they're also
like, wait, what did he say?
Avengers assemble. I'm Batman.
What was that? What did he just call me? Did he say something?
Yeah, but I think the score really encapsulated, like, it had those big moments. The build up I thought was great, especially in the final battle, but it also had that subtle, I'm gonna call it subtle grandness, of, I think of back to the beginning of the film of like Tony's possible last moments, and as the camera stares like out into the unending void of space, like you just get this, like, it's so soft, it's so quiet, but you get this swell. And honestly, when I think about that, it again gives me goosebumps, right? Like the thing I love about score too, like I said earlier, it communicates things that can't be communicated in words, right? Like music is just such a powerful part of film. And in Avengers Endgame, I think they nailed the score. Like it was just so well
Well,
done. It
that's
had those great epic moments, but it also had those moments that were just so soft and tender. Uh and
honestly,
whether it
man,
needed to feel like
that's
yeah.
Alan Silvestri for you, man. He's a
Yeah,
fantastic
absolutely. Like
composer, and like I honestly, he's one of my go-to composers to listen to because he did Back to the Future, he did Ready Player One, like,
right.
and that's just my two favorite scores that he did. But like the list is
Yeah.
huge. Like it's he's
Like
just
these are good enough. Like I honestly listen to them in the car. There's a lot of movie scores that I'll listen to driving around. Like I don't listen to rap. I'm like, I'm gonna put on Avengers. My wife absolutely hates it. She's like, why can't you just listen to normal ass music? But I'm like, whatever, it's fine.
I get told the same thing by a lot of my friends too. It's like I'll be playing a score and they're like, "Wow, you're kind of a nerd," and I'm like, "Shh, the music's amazing. Shut up."
Like, don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. It's great.
Yeah, just
it's great.
how does this music make you feel? Think about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And it drags you right back into those moments too, right? Like you pick them up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm right back into that moment.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, number one for me and the movie that made it really stand out is the score. It was top notch score. Top notch score. Second was pace. The pacing actually worked really well for me. I know it didn't work well for everybody, but Avengers Endgame clocks in at about 3 hours and 2 minutes. And I never felt like I was watching it for that long. It wasn't as quick of a pace as Infinity War. Obviously,
Honestly,
Infinity War, there was like a lot of things going on. It was like next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. So that movie moved quick. It was still 2.5 hours, but it moved quick. This was a slower pace, but it never felt like at any point that it was just dragging. Like you're just looking at your watch, like, when's this movie over? The time continued to move by smoothly. And so the pacing really worked. And that can make or break a movie, right? Like an hour and a half can feel like a 4 hour movie if the pacing is terrible. 3 hours can feel like two. I mean, it's all about pacing when
at
it
the
comes
risk
to
of
how the movie's going. But yeah, no, the pacing worked for me.
at the risk of going the opposite way of that, I honestly felt like it probably could have used an extra half hour. Like, not even joking. Like it felt like I don't know what even. I know when I first saw it, I had more ideas of what it could have been, but it felt like
Right.
there could have just been like an extra half hour of something in there, and I wouldn't have complained, honestly. Like it's as you said, like the pacing was really good. I didn't feel like it was too long. I don't find myself getting bored or, well, I'm done watching this movie now and it's an hour in. Why the heck is it only an hour in? Like I find
Yeah. Exactly.
it's very
Yeah.
it's well paced, but I could use more all the time. I could always use more.
And like
could always use-
yeah, and that's the hard thing too, right? When it comes to like, oh, we could always use more, but like if we added more, maybe it would throw off the pacing. Like depends what they had filmed, right? Like or what scenes were taking over. I would have liked to see more, I guess. Like my big thing too, I guess even in the middle, I would have liked to see like while they're doing the time traveling thing, a little bit more like action segments or a couple bit more like flashy things. I know they pretty much saved it for the whole last third of the film, which was last hour, which was great. That ending was like awesome. I guess we'll talk about that in a sec.
yeah.
But yeah, like even if they added an extra half hour, I could see them having more opportunity to kind of play in these worlds. Like Don Cheadle and War Machine and Nebula, right? Like they were just like dropped off there. They took out Peter Quill like clotheslined him, and then it's like, well, this is our end of the journey here, or at least for
Yeah,
War
we're done.
Machine, right?
All right.
Like, so I thought they could have done a little bit more, like on like areas like that, but yeah, the pacing it worked for me. I don't know if it would have worked if they added more stuff. That's hard to say, right? It's one of those things you don't know, but yeah, no. Pacing was one of the things that definitely worked for me in this movie. Third one was characters. I think the characters were used masterfully to tell this story. And you could argue that characters are obviously a huge part of the MCU the whole time, and it's kind of what gives it the heart and soul as it moves forward. But I just thought in this movie, the story gave plenty of room for the characters to have like unique, deep moments, not just like unique like Thor coming into Wakanda moments, or but like actual those emotional depths of the characters. Like you were able to kind of dig into their psyche, their emotions, their feelings, and we weren't just like rushed along. Like Infinity War had a lot going on, so you never really had too many of those in-depth character moments. I would say except Thor and Rocket, I thought that was a great moment when they're
Yeah.
on their way to Nidavellir, right? And he's talking about all the things he's lost. I was like, that was a fantastic scene. But you didn't get a lot of those in Infinity War. Endgame, it slowed down and it gave us some great character depth.
It was a lot of people dealing with the loss, dealing with that kind of stuff, and I think actually that was what I wanted a half hour more of, was them coming to terms with what happened, right? And seeing that 5-year gap and realizing the scope and the impact of what happened. Because like you scratch the surface on it, but there's still a lot of questions. Is like, wait, what's going on? Like, what exactly happened?
Yeah, exactly.
How are people adjusting? Like,
and like you said, you can only do like so much too. Anyway, keep going. Yeah, go ahead.
Like, what was that hero life for those 5 years? Like, I want to kind of know what that was like for those people, like, for how they had to... Did they have a lot of crime to stop, or did a bunch of the criminals disappear? Like, I'm really curious about that 5-year gap. I'm really, really curious, and, like, maybe we'll get movies that kind of explore that at some point. Who knows?
Well, if Black Widow does really well, I could see us getting a sequel that takes place somewhere in that 5-year gap. Because clearly she's kind of running like the show at the moment.
Oh, exactly.
When we pick up an Endgame, right? Like after that 5-year gap. So I'm sure she was doing something in between. But if we got a Black Widow sequel, I'm sure it would be in that time space. Because you can't go forward, obviously. But
arguably, she's the most qualified.
Left space to go back. Arguably, yeah. No doubt, right? I think some of the great character moments in Endgame, though. I think Thor's struggles, right? Like it was played off kind of comedic at first, like you're laughed like, oh, he's fat. But then you realize it's just kind of a visualization for like, you know, the depth and torment. And it kind of goes back to even that moment with Rocket in Infinity War, right? Like what else do I have left to lose? It's like clearly a lot, man. Like you've totally given up now. Like I feel so bad for Thor. Like he's lost so much in the MCU. Like over the course of the last just couple films, I'm like,
yeah, it's depressing though too when you look at it. Like because you can laugh it off like, haha, he gained this weight and stuff. But like, but
there's
about
real
why.
character depth there.
Think about why he gained that weight, what he's doing, like what happened with his life that he went from being, especially at the beginning. And the thing is, you see that from the beginning of the film, he's angry, but he's still kind of doing fine. But then when he realizes. Yeah. He can't actually stop anything or fix anything. Or
save anyone. Yeah.
Like there's just that there's an underlying tone of deep-seated depression with that. And it's real. It's a tragic moment, but I think if they would have gone full bore into that tragedy, then I don't think it would have worked as well. I think it would have just
No, you had to have that balance. You need that balance, right?
It just would have been another mopey, sad, broody hero guy, and it's like you don't really need that. And it kind of showed layers of how different people cope with loss and cope with situations like that.
And that again, that was just like these character moments, this in-depth character introspection, right? Is why I really loved Endgame probably a little bit more than Infinity War if I had to compare the two, because I am a sucker for that kind of stuff, right? And again, and you think about Thor, like you said, it shows the various layers. Like there's the he's fat thing, but then as soon as he mentions Thanos, right? Like Hulk mentions Thanos in his hut, like you see like the whole underlying layers of what's going on with this character.
We don't say that name here.
Exactly, right? Like who killed that guy? I killed that guy. Well, technically it was Stormbreaker. Who swung Stormbreaker? Right? Technically it was Stormbreaker. But then he has like those great moments too where he gets, you know, I'm still worthy. Mjolnir comes back to him when he's in the past. And, you know, he gets his armor back like he's ready to rock. So even he has his own journey too, which is great.
I'm really, really happy that when he got his armor and everything like that, it suddenly wasn't like thunder and he was ripped. Like, because that
defeats the purpose.
100%. Like, I'm cool by Love and Thunder. If he's ripped again, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just really glad it wasn't a quick fix of like, oh, I'm worthy and now I have this power. Like, I feel
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm fixed. Like, he clearly still has things to work through.
It would have undercut that, and I think, on the other side, too, I think it raised the stakes a bit by not having him
as powerful.
Yeah, because of course, like, he's not the apex of his physicality if he's like, 300 pounds.
Yeah, like if he was Infinity War Thor, he would have been able to at least take on Thanos competently. Like in Endgame, you see, like he gets his butt kicked by Thanos. Like Thanos, like hands it to him, and you're like, oh yeah, he's not at his peak level of performance, right? And they kind of make a point too when he's like, I can use the gauntlet. You know what's running through my veins? What did War Machine say? Like mayo or something?
Yeah.
I can't remember the line. But they kind of even make a point of that too. Like Thor isn't at his, peak, right? Like
No, exactly.
he's not the Thor you know. But I mean, you could go on all day about Thor's arc and Endgame and the different layers, and that's only one character. I mean, Tony's got some great layers too. He gets closure on his father, which was just a great moment, especially as you build up through the MCU, given his issues.
I just wish that we had a happy ending. That's my one of my things. I just I understand it's good hero's journey, all that stuff.
Yeah,
I just wanted him to have his family and just everything's cool and great, and it's like I was really hoping
not die.
I was really hoping that like they're watching the video of him at the end where it's like him giving his like farewell speech, like if you seeing this, I'm dead. And then like when it gets turned off, it's him turning it off, being like, "Well, that was a close one." Like I was really hoping that because that would be to me that would be such a Tony Iron Man moment to just like be with his family watching the video of like I think I'm gonna die, and like, well, at least I didn't, guys. Like, hey, let's celebrate now. Like, I think that's just the opposite of a cynic, I guess, in me. I don't know what that would be. The optimist in me, I guess. I would have liked that warm, fuzzy ending, and just kind of like you have it where he has his family. He's now retired. He saved the world, so he can show up again later if you want. But we don't need him, right? He's retired. He's done, and like we didn't get that, and that's okay. Like it still works. It just there's a part of me that's like, oh.
I wish it was sweet and not bittersweet.
His poor child and wife. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, that moment when like Happy's sitting on the bench with his kid there, Morgan.
I want cheeseburgers.
And he's like, your dad loved cheeseburgers. I was like, oh my heart, my heart. Yeah, that was so well acted by like Jon Favreau too. I was like, man, that was well acted. That was a well acted moment. Let's see. I got a couple more on my list here. I don't want to spend all day talking about characters, but I mean, you could, right? Like that's what I loved about this movie. There's so many of these moments. Tony giving his shield back to Captain America, I thought was a great moment. Just that reconnecting. That what's the word?
Well, it's patching things up after they're.
Yeah, then there's a word for it. I can't really remember it at the time. Reconcile, like the reconciliation of those characters, right after the split. And I was thinking about too, because they have been separated for a long time. Like 2016 Civil War happened, and while we're watching the movie, that was 3 years ago. But now add 5 years in between that, right? Like now you're talking about like 8, 9. Like they've been not friends for a long time. Like it's been some time since they've had their moments together.
They've been quiet friends though, because there was that.
They're always.
Was
friends,
it at the
right?
end of? Was it the end of Civil War where Cap sends him
Got
a cell phone?
Yeah.
And then they never use it.
But then to actually be like, to actually have that moment of coming back together was really nice. And if you look at how Cap says thank you, so here's just a little thing to watch next time you watch it. You maybe even notice this. When Cap says thank you and Iron Man gives him back the shield is the exact same way that Sam says it at the end when Cap gives Sam the shield. They both have their arm like outstretched. They look down in a certain way and they look back up and they say thank you in like the exact certain way. I'm like, it was such a beautiful just
after parallel
reflection. Yeah, parallel of between like, handing the shield over from one to the other. You'll have to watch it next time you watch. Like, just, like, watch their physicality and, like, how they say it and their head motion. You're like, damn. I'm like, damn, that's the exact same way as Cap said it. It was awesome. Let's see here. Natasha's sacrifice and how the group mourned her. I thought that was a really good moment. They could have just brushed over that really quick and got right to putting the stones in the glove kind of thing. But they gave those, like, core characters that moment to... deal with their grief and clearly in very different ways, right?
Well, that's where I felt like the only problem I had with that though is they dealt with their grief, but then at the end they're having a memorial just for Tony.
For Tony, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. They're like,
think
we
this
talked
could've been
about
like-
we we already talked about Black Widow. She's
Could we
good.
have had a joint effort here, like a joint, like, hey, we lost team members.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
What about all the Wakandan soldiers? And I'm assuming
yeah,
other
right.
people died. I'm just
Yeah,
guessing.
I'm assuming other people have probably had their own individual funerals. I don't know, but like, yeah, I get what you're saying too, and that was a point I think many people brought up. But,
like,
yeah,
like
I
overall,
think they
but
did
they
give
still-
her a sack.
But there was still, like, that's exactly it. They had a moment to grieve. They had a moment to acknowledge what had happened. And honestly, I wish
And they
could
obviously
have brought her
all
back. But
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
they
also,
obviously all loved her, right? Like as characters, like they're such a close, like little knit group. To lose one is like, yeah, that was
like,
you could
as
tell it
bad
was
as it's
rough.
gonna as bad as it's gonna sound, I don't want to speculate too much about the future of the MCU because, like, I trust them to do what they will. At the end of the day, it's a comic book movie, and comic books are notorious from bringing people back from the dead. So, do I view any of these deaths that happen permanent? No, they very well could be reversed, and who knows?
Absolutely, man. You never know who's gonna come back, right? Or even
It-
if they like, oh, we're in a different multiverse and we brought,
Well,
from a parallel universe or different.
Exactly,
world,
and that's
right?
where anything that's happened with Endgame, like, I think if they decided to wrap up all Marvel movies after Endgame, I think that they could comfortably have ended, and we wouldn't have to worry about getting another Marvel movie for years.
Exactly, yeah.
But that being said, with them moving forward, honestly, I don't think I'd ever complain if they brought back any of the characters they killed off. I feel like that sacrifice would still be there for what it is. Like, obviously not by the next movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like if by Doctor Strange they're all suddenly back to life, I think that would kind of undercut it. But, like,
Yeah.
even give it like three years from now, if suddenly they're bringing people back,
I wouldn't complain, yeah.
No, not at all.
I think too, like, no one, if they do bring characters back, like if they do bring back like a Tony Stark and they do bring back a Black Widow, they won't be at the same kind of level because the MCU would have moved on and they have so many different characters now to kind of share the spotlight with,
Yeah.
and to like raise up, especially these new ones like Black Panther and Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. You wouldn't be able to have Tony Stark come in and be like, I'm taking over this movie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be a big player again. Like, he could come in as a certain minor role. But I don't think they'd ever still have the same level, over a movie as
No,
they did before.
exactly.
But yeah, did I have one more in here? Just looking at my notes I wrote down. Oh, even just like Nat and Steve's convo, like when they're talking about, the world over that sandwich, right? Like just
Peanut
sitting
butter
at the
and jelly
table, just the
sandwich.
two of them, right? Like, I'm gonna throw the sandwich at you.
Yeah.
I could have watched like that for like probably half hour. Like,
That could
just
have
the
been its own
conversation
movie.
between the two characters. Yeah. So there's so many examples of what Endgame did really well, especially when it comes to diving into these different character layers and the depths. They just used their characters well. It wasn't a rush job.
Yeah.
Like Infinity War, again, you could say that was a rush job, right? They had so many different characters trying to balance so many things, but by snapping away half of them and leaving your core group, that gave obviously a lot more opportunity to dig into these characters. And
No, definitely.
I think they did a fantastic job with the characters.
Yeah.
Last part, fourth thing that worked really well for me was the epic moments. Epic moments.
Yep.
Movies like this need epic moments, right? Like they do. And Endgame had some serious showstoppers. The last hour, like I said, was like, holy damn. Like,
Showstopper
that whole
after
last
showstopper.
hour. That last whole hour was like, this is probably the best thing I'm going to see all year. And at that point, it honestly was, because after that, I didn't see too many movies after April. I mean, when the big three take on Thanos, right? You get that fight between the three of them. Cap wielding Mjolnir. What a moment. Like, we talked about that already, right? The theater,
Yep.
exploded. Like, if you're in a theater with people who just love that moment, like, oh my gosh. When Mjolnir flies past Thor and into Cap's hand, it was like, oh shit.
Well,
and the
like-
music of that moment, too, was fantastic. Like, again,
I want to say the
talking about
Cap
the
theme
score.
came back, right? Like the Cap theme from the first Avenger came back.
Yeah.
And that's honestly one of my favorite
Bum,
themes.
bum, 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 bum. Like, it was great. I Am Iron Man, obviously the snap was, pretty big epic moment, kind of finished the whole thing off. Wanda versus Thanos was probably one of my favorite moments in that
Too
battle.
short. It was too short. Of a moment,
It was
though.
definitely too short, but it was pretty badass.
Here's the thing: if it would have kept going, it would have been over. Like that would have been the end of the movie.
She would have, dude. She could have killed Thanos hands down.
Just ripped him in half. Like it's suddenly an R rating.
Yeah. Oh man, that was such a good scene. She just flies down there. She's like, "You took everything from me." He's like, "I don't even know who you are." You will. Like just how she said, like,
"Oh yeah,
you will." I was like, "Oh shit, I wouldn't want to mess with her." I'm excited what they're gonna do with her in the next movies, because like every movie she seems to get stronger and stronger and stronger, right?
And WandaVision, I'm excited for WandaVision.
Yeah,
I
like kind of leading up to exactly. Ultimately, her power. I think she's in Doctor Strange too, the second one as well.
Yeah, she will.
I believe she's also in that movie.
Because I think WandaVision leads into Doctor Strange too.
Yeah. So
anything with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
She's a great character.
Anything with Ant-Man and the Wasp, they were also fantastic. Like Ant-Man throughout the movie, but like anytime they give Evangeline Lilly the screen time as the Wasp, I just get excited. Like that's why I loved the second Ant-Man movie, because she was great throughout that. Like it's just, I don't know, man. Like they've hit a decent stride with their characters, I find.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah, especially like in the last, like if you watch like the older MCU movies, it's like there's some hit. You got that hit and miss. But I think leading up to, I think once they get to phase 3, honestly, it's pretty solid throughout. Like
the only
phase,
the only problem sometimes is it does become a bit formulaic, and you kind of know where the characters are going to go and what they're doing, and like there's a bit of a side rant for me just with Marvel movies in general, where it seems like a lot of the movies now, instead of being their own characters movies, and it's problems like I had problems with Captain Marvel and the Spider-Man movies for this, is that instead of it being its own Spider-Man movie or its own Captain Marvel movie, it's basically, hey, this is a precursor to the Avengers movie,
right?
And I feel like that, like they make good movies still at the end of the day, but like as a fan of these heroes, I don't care if they're part of the Avengers. I just want a good superhero experience. I just want a good Captain Marvel movie. I don't care if it sets up her connection to the Avengers. I don't care if that just happens. And same thing with Spider-Man. Let him be Spider-Man. Don't worry about him being the next Iron Man. I just want him to be Spidey.
Spider-Man.
Like,
exactly.
That's
I hope
what
they kind of get. I hope they do get to that more in like the third one.
I think
because it is kind of like I get kind of what they're doing. Like it is a coming of age story. Like I guess he still needs to build like his own confidence in himself to a certain degree.
But like let him do that in the streets of New York. You don't need to have him doing that overseas or anything like that. Like it's
yeah.
And it's I'm hoping with most of their movies they do, I know they're setting up the multiverse, and that'll totally probably throw a wrench into a lot of things, but like I like the individual films a lot. Some of my favorite movies are always the first of the series. Like I love the first Cap the most. I like the first Thor the most. I like Doctor Strange because it doesn't really tie in. Like it does because the stones are there, but
that's
not really. Same thing with Ant-Man. Like there are things that I like it when it's a good standalone story, and I don't necessarily need a crossover every single movie, right? I don't need to be building to that crossover because we know they're in the same universe. We know they exist in the same universe.
We get it at this point. I think everyone's in on it.
I don't need a wink and a nod of like, well, oh yeah.
No. I guess I wouldn't say everyone, because there's like a lot of the mainstream movie going audience. Like some of them still don't really know, or some of them are just dipping their feet in, even after 10, 11 years, right? Not everyone's like, I've been to a comic book movie.
Hey, why isn't Batman in this Avengers movie?
Exactly. Or like some people get confused. Like they'll go to DC and be like, how does this connect to Iron Man? You know what I mean? Like, so like the mainstream movie audience isn't generally as connected as most of us are, who love these films and films in general. So I guess sometimes you still got to do a little bit of hand holding, but I think for the most part, most people have kind of jumped on the bandwagon. They got it figured out. But yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. Those individual movies also are gold, and what make the MCU I think special too, right? Because you have those big ones that are all together, but you also have these more intimate, smaller stories too, where the stakes aren't as high, which is what you need, right? You need that back and forth.
If Iron Man wasn't a good standalone movie, we wouldn't have the MCU.
You wouldn't have the MCU. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like if Iron Man would have crashed and failed, it would have been like, okay, no, too bad.
Well, that's where like I know the Hulk didn't like Incredible Hulk didn't really succeed, but at the
Dude,
same
I
time,
like that movie though. It was
I
good.
still really enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy. I was gonna
And
say, man, I like that movie.
it still did something right in order to continue on the franchise, right? Because like,
Yeah.
and then obviously we got Thor, Captain America. Like we could, I
Iron
don't need
Man
to go through the
2.
whole list of all of it. Like
Yeah, like, and then we had this, and then this,
and then this, and then
this,
this, and then
yeah, yeah, no,
my
for sure.
my
buddy.
only real complaints with Endgame was
Yeah.
their time travel mechanics, and it's such a nitpick. Like it's such a stupid nitpick that I have with it. But it's like
Yeah,
they set up rules, then they knock them down, then they ignore the rules, and they say don't worry about the rules. But then like there's so many like Cap going back in time and living his life with Peggy just irreparably changes the timeline. That just completely changes the timeline. Something is broken there.
and then how
And,
does
like,
the old man Cap end up in the same
timeline?
then
It
spot
does-
and timeline as them? Yeah, like that.
that's,
That was
like,
what.
there's
Yeah,
so
that was one of
many-
the things. I was like, if you think about some of the rules they set in place, you're like, and then what they actually executed and did, you're kind of like, something's not adding up quite right.
Well, and it's time travel is a hard thing to tackle. Like I understand that, but at the same time, it isn't because we've had a lot of successful time travel movies before. So it's about setting up rules and sticking to those rules.
Yeah.
You shouldn't necessarily, especially when it comes to time travel, because it's such a weird
Sticky
topic.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't break the rules, but at the end of the day, it's a sci-fi and fantasy movie. It irks me when I think about the time travel because it just makes me like I'll think about it and I'll start spiraling and just get like angry. Like, no, this doesn't work because this thing. No, what about this, guys?
Yeah.
No, and it's like, Ethan, it's a movie. Calm down. Just relax.
Take it easy. Yeah.
Come back.
If you
pull
could
back
just,
a bit.
if you could ignore the time travel little rule things and just be like, yeah, I'll just accept
Well,
it for what it is, then you're okay. But yeah,
I can.
it's
and I
hard to
can't.
do those things. Yeah.
I can and I can't because there's one moment that I'll never forgive them for, and it's when Star-Lord and Gamora reunite. I will never ever forgive them for her not remembering him because that is the most heartbreaking and emotional moment in that entire movie for me. Because
Right.
I have such like I love the Guardians. I have such a connection with them, and then suddenly it's like he remembers her, she doesn't remember him, and then it just like that's like I didn't cry throughout the entire movie except for that exchange, and like it's a comedic moment. I shouldn't be crying, but I'm like, no, this isn't fair. Star-Lord should get a happy ending. What is this? Why doesn't she
Yeah,
remember?
no,
him? And just,
that was like when you think about it, it is a sad moment, right? Because
It
it's still
hurt,
like it is
man.
Gamora, but like all those events that really shaped her to, and brought her and Quill together never happened in her timeline. Like for her, none of that has happened.
She has no idea who they are, and
Exactly.
he who's been building this, he's been building this relationship with her for the last 2 movies and I guess 6 years, 2014 to now.
Yeah,
So 6, I guess no, and then 6 years plus,
and then +5.
no, because they were not, they don't get the 5 because they were snapped.
Oh right, yeah,
So like essentially 5 years of that relationship building is just gone. Like it's just disappeared and wiped, and like, but it isn't for him, but it is for her, and that just
that's
like,
hard.
not to mention, well, exactly, not to mention we haven't seen her interact with the other characters who probably also feel the same way. It's this person who they've been friends with and close with for 5 years, they've traveled with for 5 years, is suddenly there but not there. Like, and I'm mad about it, but I'm also really excited about it because I want to see how this plays out and what happens.
Especially when you're going into Guardians 3, right?
I'm waiting on bated breath for that. Like, I am so excited for Guardians. The Guardians are my favorite Marvel movies. Like, I just got to get that out there. Like, they're
They are fantastic. Like they're
I
really
love
good,
them.
well-made movies.
they're the least Marvel movies out there in this franchise, and they work super well as just a solo standalone sci-fi series as well as tied in with the MCU.
Yeah.
And like I just like the second one makes me just cry every time I watch it. I could go on for Guardians. I'm not going to because chances are we'll talk about it in the future. But no, like I enjoyed Endgame overall. I agree with you. It's still not my top pick because there are other movies I enjoyed more, but like it was good. Also, I'm realizing I'm having a hard time remembering what came out in 2019 because it feels like we're simultaneously in 2019, but also 2019 feels like it was 2 years ago. But it was
Has
like,
2020 even started? I don't know.
has it started? Has it finished? Where are we? What's going on?
What exactly are we? Yeah, we're gonna have to do some time travel and figuring this whole thing out. And Avengers. ultimately, when it came to Endgame, you know, it wasn't the movie I was definitely expecting going in. I thought there was gonna be way more like you know what I mean, action, like kind of what they did in the last hour. I thought that was gonna be a bit more spread out. But I'm really happy with what we ended up with and how it got put together. Again, music, the character moments, the pacing, and you know, just having those epic moments at the end, and just having that much deeper character-driven story than Infinity War. I thought, I thought Endgame was a great movie, a great way to kind of put a feather in the cap of the whole Infinity Stone storyline. And that's an asterisk too, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great way to end the chapter. And that's an asterisk too.
And then
Like
they
once
released.
I see other 2019 movies, that might change for me. But right now,
Yeah.
Endgame's still top of my list.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, is your opinion on movies and things can always change. Like, there's nothing saying that you can't.
This is
change
the
your
way
opinion on things.
forever.
Like
Yeah.
my favorite movies have jumped around, like because it was Star Wars, and it was Lord of the Rings, and then like honestly Back to the Future, and like it hops from time to time, right? Like that's the
Right.
thing. Like you're never tied into liking something forever or disliking something forever. You can change your opinion, and that's also the beauty of, well, any like life in general, but when it comes to film, like you're allowed to grow and change as a person, and as you do, some movies that you really like aren't going to be the same as like some movies that growing up you're going to go back and revisit and not like, and there's going to be other movies you didn't like growing up, you'll go back and revisit and be like, oh, I connect with this now, I get this. Like,
Absolutely.
so
And like depends where you are in your life too, right? At that point. Even like how
well,
we
I guarantee
how we
you,
view and understand the movies that we're watching.
your perspective on father movies are probably way different than mine. Like,
Right.
you know, being a dad, like that's gotta definitely impact your vision on like when I see a father son movie, my perspective's as the son looking at the dad. Like,
Yeah.
whereas for you, it's kind of the opposite. Like
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that's another reason I love, like, going back to the first question from the very beginning. That's why I love film. Is just it's those different opinions and different voices can add to the conversation, and that's I think a lot of people write it off as like opinions on movies being right or wrong. But the thing you need to understand when you're watching a movie or discussing a movie, everybody has a different walk of life that's gonna give them a different perspective on the thing that we've watched.
It's all subjective, as they say, right? Like, and it really is.
And that's what makes it beautiful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so.
You can have one movie watched by 10 different people, and they'll each have a different experience on what they just sat through. But it will,
Exactly.
but it can affect them profoundly, each in their own way, right? Like, and that's what makes it beautiful, man.
Now on to the worst films, or
Honorable mentions, real quick for me.
all right, I guess
I just wrote a couple down that I was like, these are still really good movies. Like Toy Story 4 was gold.
Yeah.
Dolomite is My Name. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't yet. That's on my list.
That was the Eddie Murphy one. Oh, damn, Eddie! All I can say is Eddie Murphy's back, and I'm excited to see what he does with his next couple movies. But yeah, Dolomite was My Name was great. I did watch The Irishman. It's fantastic, and of course Joker. I really enjoyed Joker. I know me and you probably have different opinions on that, but it's in my honorable mentions. But
I
we'll
can't
dig into
comment
those
on it
things
until
later.
I see it.
Right. You didn't see it yet.
I'm
yeah.
apprehensive about it, but I need to see it before I can give a full opinion. Like that's
Right.
I'm trying to be better at that. That's something over the years I haven't been great at, where I've prejudged a movie and been like, no, I'm gonna hate this going into it.
Right.
Like, I should be open to the idea of what these movies can be, and like maybe it's not my cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be something that you like. Right? Just because I don't connect with something or I don't like something doesn't mean someone else should also dislike it. Yes, that was a confusing way to say that, but you know what I mean.
I got what you're saying, buddy. I got what you're saying. For sure. But those are my honorable mentions. Yeah. So let's move on to the worst movies of 2019. Do you want to kick this one off? Or should
we say it's worst movies or just our least favorite? Because like
it's more of a, it's not like when I say best and worst movie, it's not like the unopposed this is the best and worst movie. It's just really our own favorites.
Something that didn't tickle
and least favorite, but best and worst is just easy to explain it.
I'll let you lead it, because like I have a small list of movies that just didn't, like, they all kind of hit me the same way, where I was just not satisfied.
Sure, yeah.
But like, so I'll let you lead. What was your?
I can kick off this one. So my least favorite or worst movie depends how you want to say it, of 2019 was, I don't know if this is gonna be popular or not, but I don't care because this is how I feel. The
I was
Lion
gonna
King.
say, okay.
It,
I
it
thought,
is it is The Lion King. Like, here's my issue with The Lion King, and it's not like I hated the movie. It's not like I hate the Lion King story. I love the Lion King story. Like,
yeah.
Lion King is still the original anime Disney classic. It's still one of my favorite movies to this day. As a kid, I loved it. As an adult, I still love it. So I'm not like hating on like, oh, I just hate Lion King. Like, I love the Lion King story. Let me just put that out there.
So
When it
someone
comes to
who
this, go
I
ahead.
haven't seen the remake of Lion King.
Oh, okay.
So I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Set this up. Since I've seen the original one, do I need to see the second one? Do I need to
And
see
that's kind of what I'm gonna answer right now. Like,
all right, I'm very interested now.
That's kind of what I'm gonna answer. So just again wrapping it up, I don't hate Lion King, just to make it clear. And I didn't necessarily hate the movie, but as a movie, it literally had nothing new to say. It literally had nothing new to say. It was a shot for shot remake with slight variations on the scenes. So this isn't like the Jungle Book where it was like you still have that core kind of idea of what's going on in the Jungle Book, but it was told and the story was slightly different and it weaved around and did different things, right?
Yeah.
This is literally a shot for shot remake. Like if you watch the animated version from the 93 or 8 or whatever it was, I don't know, 98, I can't remember.
It's 93 or 94. I can look it up quickly.
Early 90s, like that classic Disney Lion King. If you watch that, you can pretty much watch this. But here's the thing, without that animation, like with the change in animation style, while it's impressive and looks very photorealistic, having that photorealism takes away the expression of the characters. Like they just look like they're
it's
actual animals, right? So they
it's
can't
weird.
have the dynamic expressions.
It's really
the
weird
same
that
way.
it's touted as being a live action movie when it's still
animation.
Like
It's all animation. It's all animation. All of it. The only thing that's not animation was the sun rising in the first shot. They actually took that. That's actual footage. But the rest is all CGI animation. And it is impressive. Like, it looks very realistic. But again, with that, you're taking away that expression. The characters can't express, like, physically as much, right? And you kind of take the magic away from that movie. They did have, I think, one new scene or two new scenes. One was Nala escaping Pride Rock, like when she ends up later on finding Simba.
Okay.
That was a very short scene, and I actually did like it. But the rest, it's just slight variations. Like when they sing "The Lion Sleeps Tonight," they sing a slightly longer version. Scars, "We Be Prepared" is slightly different. It's not the full song. It's just a little bit here and there. But like other than those slight variations in that one new scene, I just found there was nothing to like that wasn't in the original. They didn't take it a different direction. They didn't add anything new or dynamic. It was just, look at this new animation style. And that's pretty much what it is. So as much as I wouldn't say like I hate this movie, but I just felt like it just had nothing new to offer me. And I was kind of bored watching it because it's like, this is the same thing I've seen before. I'm just less interested, or I feel less connected to the characters
Well, I mean,
than I did in the original.
They essentially told a better live action version of The Lion King when they made Black Panther. Like, because like, if you look at a lot of the story beats in Black Panther, it mirrors Lion King really well, and it tells a similar story.
The Royal Rumble.
It was really well done, and like that's one of the reasons I haven't seen the new Lion King is honestly a lot of the Disney remakes. I understand what they're trying to do, and I again, like, they got to do what they got to do because Disney arguably knows a bit better than I do, since they're
well, they know they're a
major
sure.
they're a major multi-million-dollar corporation,
yeah.
and I'm just a guy with an opinion. But
yeah,
to me, it's number one, animation has such its own dynamic expression that you can't really capture in live action all the time, and it's shown with all their live action remakes. I can't say there's a single one where I'm like, oh, that was better than the original one.
Yeah,
because
I really liked. I did really like the Jungle Book. I thought the Jungle Book was a really good live action interpretation, and even that's hardly live action. You have the kid.
Well, it's,
you know what I mean. Like, the rest was CGI.
That's also not the first live action adaptation they've done of the Jungle Book. Like, that's
that's true.
I think like that's Disney's second or third attempt at a live action one, but like And to me, like, that's one I couldn't get into myself, but at the same time, I agree. It was at least there was a reason for it to be live action and not just another animated adventure.
Right.
And to me, it's just it. There's just something that's not quite working with these animated remakes, or just not really sitting well with audiences. Like, they make money because people want to go see them, and for kids, especially with kids, like, obviously that's their massive demographic, right? Because a kid who didn't grow up in '93 is gonna go and see this Lion King, and that's the nice thing about it, is they're gonna get this story that they haven't necessarily seen already.
That they
so
never experienced. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's
yeah.
a nice thing with that.
That's a good point.
And I understand that to a point, but also I'd love to see them drastically change some of these stories, like take the core concept and tell it in a new, different way, rather than just revisiting material they've already done.
And that's kind of what I was hoping for Lion King. And I get it, like, they're in a tough position because Lion King is so, like, loved by so many people. If you change it drastically, people will be like, this isn't the Lion King. But if you do shot for shot, you have people like me who's like, this is exactly the same movie.
It's just not the same. Watched. It's just not the same doing it animated, and it could be.
It's missing the magic, right? Like, and that again was one of my points when it came to this movie. Like, it's just, like, it's a good enough movie. It just has nothing new to say, and yeah, you feel like it's just missing that magic from the animation, like the expression, and like there's a barrier there, right? Like when you're talking about animals that are made in such a way, like, and the whole cast is like that, like there's no human to center it, right?
Yeah,
like it's all these animals, so you have to be able to connect with them. But when they're literal just animals, it's hard to make that connection because there is no, those facial expressions just aren't there, because a cat doesn't make the same facial expression as a human, you know. But in the animation they can make it, you know, look kind of that way and give them those dynamic expressions.
They're talking about doing a Robin Hood one now, like a live action version of the animated Robin Hood.
Oh, okay, with like the animals.
And like I've been saying that they should do that for a while. Like I've been saying, like, just in my small circles, being like, they should do that one. But I'm curious which way they're going to take it, because I don't think they should go the way of making them hyper realistic. Right. But I think they could do a really good motion capture adaptation of Robin Hood.
I just want to see a giant rooster.
Well, that's the thing.
Robin Hood, a little giant walking through the forest. Doodle-daddle, doodle-daddle,
what a day. But like,
I love that guy.
But like, they should just find that balance of, not like, don't go super hyper realistic for your animation, but don't just do 2D animation. Like, do a good motion capture movie, and I hope that's what they're going for, and I think they will. And I don't know, I trust them so far. We'll see.
I like what I've been seeing, like with the new Mulan movie that will be eventually coming out once theaters and stuff reopen.
Yeah.
I did like what I was hearing about that, because it clearly was a very, like, it was, you still had the Mulan at its core, right? And that story at its core, but it was still a very different telling from the animated one. And I think they just need to go that route. I think Aladdin was, again, really good. It wasn't quite a shot-for-shot remake. It had those different elements, even, like, the genie, like, Will Smith wasn't like, I'm Robin Williams.
No,
you know
that's,
what I mean?
that's
like,
important. Cause...
he did his own character. And it's those things, those changes that make a movie, again, like, worth watching or something to say. And they just, Lion King just didn't have it. So for me, worst movie of 2019 that I've seen so far, or at least movie, I guess, you know, my least favorite for sure, was Lion King. What? Dishonorable mentions: Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, because it equals Star Trash.
I'm getting
that out there.
I think we need to...
but, and we won't talk about that today.
We need to save that for
make an own episode. I'm just saying, dishonorable mentions for me was Rise of Skywalker, just so everyone knows we're on the same page here.
Well,
but
I'll make that
it's not the worst one. It's not the worst one, because at least it said something. Nothing worth hearing or thinking about, but, you know, something.
It was a movie, and I enjoyed it, and I had a good time. And we'll talk about that on a different day when we're not as
that'll be a good one.
Angry about technology.
That will be a good one to talk about. But yeah, so that's my worst movie, dishonorable mention, Lion King. Okay, I'm gonna shoot it over to you.
So, I have a weird scale for what I find is like movies that I don't like, and it's usually if I can leave a movie. If I leave a movie and my thoughts on it are, oh, it was okay, but they could have, and I can start listing off things about what they could have done better or they could have changed that would have improved the story, and I can come up with a different pitch. that's usually a sign for me that I didn't like the movie and that it could have been better, and that's kind of what I would mark that on. So for me, like there's a few different ones. Like that's the problem is I have a list of like movies that I felt that way about. And maybe it's just going to be a short segment for me because I don't think we need to go through every single movie. Because I could speak
for sure.
Like I think I could better speak to a core of what I disliked about these ones. But it would be like movies like the Dumbo remake, Spider-Man: Far From Home, and The Color Out of Space are the three I'm going to specifically mention.
Okay.
And all three of those, for me, they kind of suffered from the same thing, where it's like their ideas got away on them, and they weren't concerned on telling the best story that they could, rather than being a spectacle. Like Dumbo, I don't even know what that story was trying to say. I have no clue where.
Dumbo was one of the movies I hadn't seen in 2019, and it's not on my list because like any review I've seen, people are like, "We don't even know what this movie's about." That's a very common sentiment.
Did you like the classic one? Did you like the original Dumbo?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Like it was all right. Like I know a lot of people love Dumbo, but I'm like, I like.
Here's the thing: I'm neutral about the old Dumbo.
Yeah.
And so seeing a movie that to me was a worse version of that, like it just didn't really like
do anything for you.
Because like there were some cool things that were kind of introduced, but then were never explored. Like the main characters, or arguably, that's the thing is I don't really know who the main character is other than this family. But like in this family, the daughter is like, I want to be a scientist, and then that's nothing. Then there's nothing. It's like that's her shtick, is she wants to be a scientist, and like that's cool, that's great, but then do something with it, right? Like,
well, that's the whole thing. If you're gonna put something into a scene or like add information, at least something like that was specifically like I want to do something. Like you should do something with it, right?
Well, and even Dumbo's journey.
That's just good storytelling.
Dumbo's journey was all over the place, and like I didn't really understand. Like it's just one that it felt unnecessary. It didn't really, as you said, it didn't say anything new. It didn't really do anything,
bring anything to the table.
And it could have. Yeah. I think it really could have. And it's the same thing. Spider-Man: Far From Home.
And there's a lot of good actors in that movie too.
Oh, the acting wasn't a problem. I loved the acting.
I was surprised like the movie got such bad reviews when I was like, man, there's like what, Danny DeVito, Michael Keane,
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell, yeah. I was like, dude, there were
two
actors.
penguins in this movie. Two penguins and a Batman, like,
yeah.
But like for me, it just, as I said, it didn't offer anything new, and it just made me just kind of like the acting wasn't bad, like the acting was good, I enjoyed it, but like some of the character motivations didn't make sense, and they didn't really. I don't know. It was just.
It sounds like it really like lost its legs on the writing for sure.
Possibly. That's the thing is I don't remember most of it. I forgot it came out. I had to look through a list and go like, oh yeah, that was this year.
That was a 2019 movie.
Spider-Man: Far From Home was a similar kind of thing for me, where it's like, I liked Mysterio, I liked Jake Gyllenhaal, I liked Tom Holland, I liked the cast. I felt that the movie was too big for what it was trying to do. I was gonna say, there's someone behind you, Matt.
Yeah, that was just my wife and the boy. They're waving at me from the window.
Aw. But it was too big, and I'm missing that core of friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I feel like they could have told a very similar, if not the same story, but base it in his hometown. I feel like
I got you. Yeah,
I didn't hate it though. Like I liked it better than Homecoming. I could do a whole video on just Spider-Man.
I agree with that. I definitely liked it better than Homecoming. I thought Homecoming was good, but I liked Far From Home. I thought it was a pretty good movie. But I guess when you make the point too, like just thinking about like, could you have made the same movie but in New York? Yeah, more or less, right? Like it didn't necessarily have to be in all these different locations.
It's so focused on making Spider-Man the new Iron Man that I think it loses the core of what Spider-Man is. And like I said,
yeah, they touched on that a lot.
I know I know we've said this about a couple different things, but like I'm gonna save us. There's a big Spider-Man rant. I have several Spider-Man rants, but I'll save that for its own thing as well, because there's just as I said, it's Spider-Man's one of my big heroes, and I'm a little harder on him than I am other heroes for their movies.
Fair enough.
But we've had successful Spider-Man movies so far, that, and like these have been successful. I can't even argue that they haven't been successful, because they have been. They made a lot of money and a lot of people love them. Yeah. But for me, they don't necessarily connect as Spider-Man films as much as I'd like them to. You know, and but again, that's my opinion on that. And I came out of that movie thinking about like, oh, they could have done this, and this. And then Color Out of Space, it's an indie horror film that I really wanted to like. And it was just another one that the story, it was just all over the place, and it wasn't focused on what it could have been, and it just kind of seemed, and people can argue because of the type of movie it is,
right,
that it's meant to be erratic and kind of crazy, and you're not supposed to know what's going on. But I feel like that's also a cop-out for not clear storytelling.
Fair enough.
I think there's a way to do that.
Fair enough.
There's a way to do that erratic behavior and storytelling without confusing your audience and making them go like, wait, what's going on? When did this happen? Yeah. And like having to go, I think there was a couple times we had to actually skip back to see if we missed anything. And we didn't. It was just suddenly something didn't make sense, and we're like, okay, I guess that's what's happening now. So for me, and I think maybe this is going to be a reoccurring theme throughout these videos
like
and
multiple,
stuff like that.
Like these kind of like
is that
things that are the same.
It's just
level.
If I can see a movie and I don't sit there and go like, oh, well, this could have been done better, then chances are I'll like it. Like, and it's usually if I immediately watch it or even during the movie, I can come up with things where it's like, no, they shouldn't have done that. This should have happened.
Yeah, then you're not really enjoying the movie itself, because you're not getting lost in the experience either, right?
Exactly.
Like if we're criticizing, clearly we're not involved in the movie, and it's just not working for us for whatever reason.
Exactly. I'm not saying that other people can't like these movies too. I think that there's an audience for them. Just for me, something was disconnecting, and I don't know what it was, but there's probably more. If I look back at that list, there's probably a lot more. I think Godzilla came out last year, didn't it?
It did, yeah. So, that's another movie I haven't seen.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as my friends. And my stance on it is it could use 20% more monster fights. Now, I had that stance, and then I was talking to someone at work, and I was like, oh man, this could have used 20% more monster fights. And then I thought about it critically. I'm like, okay, if it was 100% monster fights, I'd still be like, this movie could use 20% more monster fights. Because that's what I love about Godzilla, is the monster fights. It's the same thing with people complain about the new Jurassic Park movies or the Jurassic World movies. And for me, I'm content with them because they're dinosaurs eating people. And that's all I want from a Jurassic Park movie. I don't care about scientific accuracy. We lost that as soon as Lost World happened onwards, it's just been dinosaurs eating people. And I'm okay with that. That's all I need in a Jurassic Park movie. Yeah. I don't need any deep messages at this point. They said it all in the first one. Let's just watch dinosaurs eat people with a high budget. Like, I'm good.
And go from there.
Exactly. So yes, that's kind of my quote unquote worst movies or least favorite movies. And I don't know, it's movie going is weird for me because I try to separate myself from what I want to do for my career and stuff like that. But it's
right,
because I want to love movies, I do, but I also want to look at things critically to know what I want to do or don't want to do with movies. And I don't.
Well, and that's a great way to grow too, right? Like even in your own craft, is why make the mistakes other people make when you can learn from them? You know what I mean? Like when you can notice bad writing, at least you're aware of what things you shouldn't be doing while you're writing.
Well, and I think the way to look at it too is it's looking at. It's not even about looking at what works and what doesn't work as a whole, but looking at what works and what doesn't work for you. It's looking at your own self-reflection of, is this what I like? Do I like this? Or do I dislike that? Because at the end of the day, when you are making a movie, that's what you should be. You should try to make it so you enjoy it. You should try and do something you want to see.
Well, it should be your vision, right? Like what you're really seeing.
Exactly. And that's...
and not be afraid of trying to appease everybody else. Because when you're trying to make a movie for everyone that appeases everyone, it appeases no one. Like when you try to spread it out too thin, like you just got to have a vision, stick with it, go with it. And just be okay with not everyone's going to love what I'm going to make. Not everyone's going to enjoy it. There may be some people, maybe the majority of people love it. But there's always going to be people who don't.
Well, and it's a good way to find your voice, too. And as an artist, you need to have your own voice. Otherwise, if you're just mimicking other people. Like, I'm guilty of that in the past, where I've just started writing stuff like a different writer, or I've started filming stuff like a different filmmaker, and it's like, the problem with that is you turn into a pale imitation of this thing that you like, whereas you should really work at finding your own voice and being yourself.
Exactly. And we talked about Taika Waititi, right? Like, talk about having his own signature stamp and his own voice in his works, right? Mm-hmm. When you watch a movie, you wouldn't even have to tell probably someone, I guess the general movie-going audience might not realize it, but most people, especially if you're a fan of movies or you're kind of more into like the deeper end of things, you're going to pick up a Taika Waititi movie and know it's a Taika Waititi movie before the credits roll and tells you it's a Taika Waititi movie. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of style.
Because he does have his own style and how he makes things work. And I think in his style, as we said earlier, is very unique to him. Yep. So I think you make a good point there in coming up with the voice.
And that's honestly kind of how you succeed. Like, there are filmmakers that actually, like, this isn't a shot against him because I love all of his films. I like every film I've seen, I've loved. But Ron Howard is one of the best, just making the best movie to that movie. And like, he has a style, but he doesn't have a style. But he does, like, it's so, when you look at what he's made, I don't know if you ever looked at his filmography, and you start realizing, oh, that one's Ron Howard, that one's Ron Howard, that one's Ron Howard, that one's, wait, none of these look the same, but they all work. And they're all really and they're all really good. I like and that's just that to me is a feat in itself, because he's managed to tap into several different film styles but still have his own feel to them. It's bizarre, right. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's like, I forget, like, we were just watching, I think we were just watching or discussing a Ron Howard film at the house a couple days ago, and I forgot it was him because of how stylistic it was, and I can't remember what the movie was. Yeah. But, like, it's, I don't know, I think it's really cool that you can see these voices through people's films, and you can kind of get to know them a little bit just by watching their films. It's kind of,
just by watching their films.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's all part of the film, man. It's another reason why we love it, right? Like,
it's all part of the feast of films.
Feast of films, exactly. I mean, again, like, not only does it connect with us as viewers, as audience members, and connect with us in our lives and our emotions, like, you're literally feeling, it's a way, again, for the director and for all these different people who are creating this stuff to have their voice and be able to speak and communicate to so many people. It is, man. Great point there. Great point. All right, are we good? That's it for the segment. 20 years, 20 movies. Is that what it's called again?
I think I have no idea.
Yeah, 20 years, 20 movies. Even though technically it's going to be 20 years, 80 movies.
And what if we go past the 20? That's who knows?
Maybe we'll add a new 20.
I
just like the title. Look, I like the name.
We believe in ourselves so much that we're like, we're going to talk about this. We're going to have more than one episode.
We're going to at least have 20 episodes. We'll see how it goes. But 20 years, 20 movies. We're going to start 2019. I guess we'll go up to 1999. And then we'll go from there.
Is that 20 years?
20 after that. I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Well, yeah, math is not my strong point. Let's be honest.
That's why we talk about movies.
Not math.
All right, so we're going on to our next segment. And this one is called Favorite Moment of the Week. So this is one we're going to dive into our favorite moment from something we watched this week, whether it was a feature film, movie, or a TV show, or, just maybe something we picked up. So we'll let you start, Ethan. Favorite moment of the week. And what was it from?
That's a great question. That's actually, like, apparently when I looked at the template, I completely skipped over this one.
Do you want me to start? I'll give you a sec to think about it.
Yeah. Go. You go ahead, and I'm gonna think about this because it's been
okay. So this week my goal was to go through the Dark Knight trilogy and touch on that again, because I hadn't watched those movies probably for a good couple years now. And I got through Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I didn't get to the third one yet, but I still plan on doing that. So my favorite moment of the week was from The Dark Knight. Now, there's a lot of great moments in that movie, like ridiculously good moments. You got the interrogation scene with Batman and the Joker in the police station, right?
Yeah.
You want to know how I got these scars? Both times when he tells the story and it's different, you're like, what? Great moment. The bank heist at the beginning.
Yeah.
You want to see a magic trick? The Hong Kong extraction. The hostage tape when he's got that fake Batman and he's making the tape for everyone. I'm a man of my word.
So what you're saying is the whole movie was your favorite moment?
Like, on the whole movie. This is honorable mentions, I guess. When Gordon's alive, and of course, like, the when he's in the hospital scene with Harvey Dent. I'm just a dog chasing cars. Yeah, there's so many good moments in that movie. It was really hard for me to pick, like, my favorite moment of the week. But I decided to go with the destruction of Gotham General. Yep. So this is the scene where Gotham General is blowing up. And it's such a great character moment for the Joker. I mean, it's really a horrendous situation when you think about it.
Yeah, no one's in there anymore.
A hospital blows up. Clearly, yeah, no one's in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But still,
so
man, like, if no one was in a hospital like Calgary or Saskatoon and the hospital blew up, we'd be like, damn, that sucks. It was a hospital.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still
when you
there
put
for,
it
like,
that way.
Lives. Yeah. So it's still a horrendous situation. But it was done in such a classic Joker style. Like, he's wearing the nurse outfit. He's got the high heels on. And when he clicks the button, like, it doesn't go off right away. Like, he has to, like, literally hit it. Like, when you hit a TV remote, the batteries aren't working. So let's hit it. Like, this'll make it work.
Well, I guess this didn't work. Crap, we're going to try this again.
And then after, yeah, exactly. Like, he hits it a bunch of times. Then nothing goes off. Like, he throws his arms up. And then, boom, the hospital starts blowing up. And he's out of there. Like, it was just a magic moment. And fun fact, I'm sure everyone knows this by now, but, like, they had one shot to blow up the building, right? Like, they had to do it in one shot. And they actually blew up a building. And the explosive didn't actually work properly when they were doing the scene. But Heath Ledger stayed in character during the mishap, and that's what gave us the moment. So literally when he's, like, clicking the button and it wasn't working, like, literally shit wasn't working properly. Like, the building was supposed to just kind of go boom, but it didn't.
Happens,
and then he stayed in character. And then once it did go, obviously, like, he took off. But I was like, that's such a cool moment, because not only do you get this great character moment, you kind of get this, you know, this little improv thing where, because sometimes on set, things just don't work properly. Like, we know that. We've experienced that, like, even in our own little films. So imagine blowing up a building.
Even
like,
doing
every once
this.
in a while, everyone doing this, yeah. Our technical issues for the first hour of today. So things don't always work properly. But, you know, so of course blowing up a hospital, there's going to be issues too sometimes. But, you know, just having that great character moment and knowing that it was all kind of like improv and Heath Ledger was just in the moment, just kept rolling with it. I was like, dude, that has got to be my favorite moment of the week. The destruction of Gotham General. So that's kind of what I figured. What about you?
I'm excited. First off, I'm excited at some point to talk about Batman with you, because I feel like that's also just going to be a really, really good discussion.
Oh yeah,
maybe an argument, but like it's I got opinions.
It's gonna be good.
Like, so what we've actually been doing, we did a Mel Brooks marathon. We started. Nice. I have a box set, and we started with the producers. And we went through, and this hasn't been just for the week, this has been like the last month. And we've been going through all the movies, and we started with producers, and we ended with Producers the Musical. And it was just a really good way to end it. It was just a really good finishing point, and there was just a bit of a satisfaction of A, finishing the marathon, but B, finishing with just such a solid, tight story and musical. It was also fascinating going through his stuff, because we got to see the evolution of him as a filmmaker and kind of see where his movies went. And I got to figure out myself what his personal best movies to me are, like what movies I like the best,
right?
Versus ones that I probably won't go and see as much as I used to, and just how even age has changed my perspective on that stuff. And it just, overall, I think that was probably my, like, there's not a specific movie moment that I really loved in that, just because I enjoyed most of it. But just, like, finishing that marathon was just such a nice personal moment. I've got to pick that as my moment of the week, because it just when the credits rolled and just the music was playing, like, there's just an emotional moment for me where it's like, like, A, I feel like I accomplished something, which is funny when it's watching movies and you feel like you accomplished something, but B,
Yeah.
I just felt there was a sense of completion, which was nice. It was just a nice moment.
Finale,
right?
yeah.
It was just, it was just really good, and
Just
that'd
like
be
the
my
cherry
moment
on top, right? The cherry on
Exactly.
top of the sundae, man.
100%.
Awesome. That's a good moment, man. That's always a good feeling, right? When we were coming up to Endgame last year, we watched every weekend we were watching like an MCU movie so we could like watch the whole like do the whole marathon going into Endgame. And there's what, like 21 or 20 films at that time, I can't remember. So we literally had to start at like the end of December so that we could like have as many weeks as we needed to actually before Endgame came out. But once we finished that, I was like, holy damn, we did it. Like such an accomplishment, man. Then going into Endgame, it's like you're right on page, everything's fresh. It's like, let's do it. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying, man. That's pretty sick. Cool.
Yeah.
Best moment. So too, like our segments and stuff will always slightly kind of change per episode. Like we'll stick with kind of our core ones for the most part. We'll switch out. But today's favorite moments, like maybe next episode we'll do favorite, I don't know, score or favorite, scene or movie of the week. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Exactly.
But this week was favorite moments because I thought that's a great way just to start. Like a moment is just something
that just it's once again it's just a personal thing for you, right? Like it's so
something that just really worked.
So
last segment.
What's next for you, Matt?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Last segment of the day is called What's Next, and we're just gonna be talking about some movies and stuff we're planning on watching this week. And seeing we're all in quarantine and locked up, well,
we got time.
I think we got some time. We got time. So what's next for me? This week, my movie goal is to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy for so long. But it's such a huge time investment, right?
Hey, just one day. Just one day, man. Just wake up early and just go. And you can get
and
it
just
done
crack it down. Yeah.
It's like 20 hours.
It's a little hard it's harder when you have a child. Just be like, go away, baby.
Hey, man. Start him out young. Just strap him to your chest and make him watch.
I'm sure you'd love that, actually. The kid's great. But yeah, I've been wanting to rewatch it for such a long time, but life's crazy and those movies take a long time. But now that we're in isolation, I'm like, this is the perfect time to rewatch the trilogy. And my wife has never seen them, so I got to try and get her to sit down and watch these. But I really love these movies. I mean, the writing, the acting. We've been talking about score a lot today. Oh my God, the score in Lord of the Rings, unbelievable. I just hear like the themes, like the dun 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 dun. You're just like, damn.
Last week, I have them all on vinyl. So last week while I was writing, I actually had them playing in the background.
Oh
and
man,
it's just so good. It's just amazing.
That music gives me chills, and the movie's not even on. You know what I mean? Like,
you can watch the movie.
Chills.
You can watch that movie just by listening to the music. Now, goosebumps already, man.
Like you're just like, oh, I'm so excited this week. My goal is watch Lord of the Rings trilogy. Every time I hear that score, it just takes me away to the world. So that's my plan. Not just listen to the score. I'm gonna watch the Lord of the Rings.
Are you gonna include The Hobbit?
Probably not. I was not as hot on The Hobbit as I was Lord of the Rings. Hobbit was like, it was okay.
It's good.
I'm like,
it's just not great. It
just wasn't Lord of the Rings. Yeah, exactly. So that's my that's what's next for me. What about you, bud?
I know Gremlins 2 has been thrown around because I haven't seen Gremlins 2 apparently. Not apparently. I've just never seen it. And then we're actually going to be starting up, now that we finished Mel Brooks, we're going to be starting a double marathon of John Carpenter and Steven Spielberg.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
So luckily we're not crazy enough to, so we have like all of John Carpenter's films, which is that's nice. We don't have all of Steven Spielberg's films, and that's okay because he has like 25 titles on John Carpenter.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to go with the ones that I own, that I have here. And it's just, I'm really excited, again, to see that evolution of a filmmaker from their beginning to, their end or their furthest point that we have in their collection. Like, I'm so excited to get to see that and to study that. And because to me, I watch movies to escape. I watch them to study. I watch them for so many different reasons, and I'm excited for it. But I think we're also talking about possible. There's a list of films that we want to watch. Like I need to revisit The Howling because I'm working on a werewolf script, so I'm kind of wanting to revisit some werewolf movies too. There's a couple other movies because my he's also working on a couple different scripts that we have other movies that we want to watch, so that he kind of gets a bit of reference for them. Like,
right.
There's a long list, and at the meantime, we're also marathoning or binging Star Trek Voyager right now, and that's
okay.
So there's a lot going on the TVs at my house.
There's a lot of stuff. Man, don't burn out your TV. That sucks. Just dies.
Evenings and weekends. We watch evenings and weekends. We work during the day and then watch at night.
And then play at night.
Yeah.
Yes. That sounds good, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great week coming up. So we should have plenty of stuff to talk about when it comes to next week's podcast. That's for sure.
Hopefully.
I ended up watching none of it.
I slept.
Terrible.
I slept for 8 days.
Yeah, I just slept this whole week. It was great. It was a great week. No. Okay, man. Sweet. So that's it for today's episode of A Feast of Films. This is episode 1.
Feast of Films.
Little bit of a rough start there for us on our side. You guys didn't hear it, but we tried the opening like 3 times.
They might hear it because I'm going to see if I can make some bonus content for them.
Okay, so maybe there'll be some extra bonus content of us being like, hello, damn it.
It might just be a lot of Matt cursing. I don't know yet. We'll see.
We'll see what pops up. But yeah, this is episode 1. I think that went pretty well. And yeah, of course, wherever you're listening to this right now, come back next week because we'll have a whole new episode. I mean, this is our kind of test run trial, so I'm not exactly sure where we're going to put it yet. But wherever you're listening to this, come back next week because there'll be another one there.
Hopefully.
Probably. Most likely there'll be another one there.
Depends on technology.
But yeah, do you have anywhere you want to send people? Like, where can people find you online, Ethan?
Got my YouTube channel, which I'll probably be linking the video on a playlist there. I guess we need to figure out that's another thing too, is I guess we got to create a YouTube channel and other such means for people to access this.
Yeah.
If you're seeing,
or to find like bonus stuff or whatever. Yeah.
If you're watching this, then you know where to find us, and make sure to come back to watch for more stuff.
Yeah, that's
I'll
exactly
just give a vague blanket answer there.
We're not sure where we're going to put it, but wherever this has been found.
For my personal stuff, if you search Ethan R. Hill on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find me. My feature film, Damned Rights, is out to rent on realhouse.org. If you search Damned Rights, you can find it there. Yeah, what about you, Matt? What are you up to? What do you got that people can find
you don't want to find me at all. I'm just an enigma of the internet.
Matt has a YouTube channel with things on it that you should go and watch.
I do have a YouTube channel. I gotta start actually putting content on there too. You can find what's it called, the Matt Black Project. So if you Google that, I should be kind of close to the top. I think if you Google that, I did have one video that did really well for just like, I literally just started the channel, put out a video, and it did pretty well.
Awesome.
So you can find me at the Matt Black Project, also on Twitter, which I believe I'm also under the Matt Black Project. And I usually just like tweet about random things as one tweets about. At Infinite Matt B. That's where you can find me on Twitter.
I don't have Twitter.
Infinite Matt B. But I'm sure we'll put like links and stuff in the description or
exactly
wherever it goes.
Exactly.
Again, we're just recording this. This is kind of our pilot episode, and we just want to make sure we kind of have a solid concept idea. But yeah, then we'll figure out exactly where we're going to put all this. So
I don't
at
think
the moment
we figured
we don't 100% know.
I didn't think we figured we'd get this far, and now we're just confused. We're like, wait. Now we have to know what we're sharing?
We actually recorded one episode. What do we do with it? Yeah, because we were just talking earlier. Usually when people are like, we should do a podcast. And that's where it ends. But we've actually recorded something now.
And,
so
it's
now the next steps.
Yeah. Figuring out where to put it and what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's it. That's where you can find us. And until next week, I guess. That has been dinner. That has been the feast of films. And
that was cute. We said that together.
Yeah, so cute. And on that, we'll see you guys next week. Continue to love movies, continue to enjoy, and I'm sure we'll have different means too, as well as we continue to evolve and change, that you guys can get involved kind of in the podcast in different ways as well. But for now, we'll see you next week. Come back. We'll have something new for you.
Hope you had fun and enjoyed listening to us ramble for, I don't even know how long this is, but for a while.
Just under 2 hours, so not bad.
Hey, that's not bad at all.
That's pretty good.
We did a thing.
We did a thing.
All right.
All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you guys later. I'm Matt Black.
I'm Ethan Hill.
And this has been A Feast of Films, Episode 1.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye-bye.